how do you kind of best utilize your offset accounts now? Because I've got a couple of different ways that I play it, but how do you?
So thank you so much for the layup, saving me repeating myself again on that point on not financial advice, but I'll get it again. Okay, so the way I think about it, and I've tried to progressively take people through the journey here of going, okay, they work differently for different types of loans. They work differently in different types of structures, and then not all banks offer them, and there's a whole bunch of factors that would allow you to get them or not get them. The way I think about this now is the value to me is being able to control not only what debt I have, but it's also giving me the ability to really enhance my control over where I want to pull strings in my portfolio, how I can lay this up with the objectives. So I'll give you an example, is that if the goal is to focus on cash flow, then I'm going to strategically use my offset accounts to get a better result with cash flow. If my goal is to improve profitability, I'm going to strategically use my offset accounts to pay off higher interest loans first. I'm going to stack more money there. So I think that what every investor should be considering is layering this up with their strategy. I think they should sit there at a strategy level and say, well, what's the goal of my portfolio? Am I trying to be as profitable as possible, or am I trying to enhance the cash flow as much as possible? And then I think they should utilize and set up their offset accounts and loan products with a mortgage broker so that they can achieve that on a deeper level. Now, I can't speak for other people, but when I went through this, like this number isn't small, right? So per year, just having this set up in a way that's associated with my goals is like tens of thousands of dollars of difference, right? Totally. So it's like I could completely work through that. So when your offset accounts have been done in a way that is useful, this is you being the puppet master. This is you controlling the types of debt, what you want to work with your own portfolio, and then making sure that you can optimize that result at your own discretion.
So I found this interesting because I went and did refinancing on 2 properties, and just with the refinancing alone, I had dropped the interest rate enough where there was a net benefit of, I think it was about $450, $500 a month, right? So essentially I was just decreasing it. However, now that those 2 properties that did not have offset accounts on them can now have offset accounts, there was one property that actually, with the interest rate increases, has kind of gone negative on me. Like my forecasts say that it will slightly be a bit negative, but the actuals are still positive. That now I can go and put a whole heap of money in the offset account to buffer that, to make sure that it doesn't go negative because it sits in a trust, right? And so now that I have the vehicle to actually utilize an offset account for a property or a mortgage that sits in a trust, I get to play that game. I get to play the game of not just, hey, how do I make sure I buy the right asset that doesn't get impacted by increases in interest rates. I can actually utilize the offset to play the game a bit better, in the sense of me going and putting the cash in the offset and go, that's fine, I can weather quite a lot more interest rate increases in that property now that sits in a trust because of the offset.
There's one layer to that though, right? That means you have to be in a position to create new cash, right? So just keep in mind that you're in a business where you are making profit and you're injecting it into your portfolio to do that. And not everyone has that opportunity. So we have to be grateful that we run a very profitable business as well as run this podcast that enable us to make those moves. But that is still what you just said there is the exact type of strategies you get to utilize. So in your case, just to, I'm going to do like a recap overview here, go metaphorical on you. Grant's got a property that was potentially negatively geared and not set up in a way that was optimized for his goal. Through refinancing and utilizing an offset account, he's then being able to take some cash from other properties or other bank accounts or profits from business, and then redeploy that cash into this property in the offset account. So now he's got a positively geared property in that trust. He's been able to control how negative or positively geared it is purely by how much money he parks in that offset account. Now, can I take this a layer deeper?
Please tell me you can talk about risk or something.
Well, think about this to take it even further. So this was the surprising thing I kind of looked at is if you do a big refinance like I did earlier in the year, you might actually refinance money out of certain properties also.
I did look at doing it and I did it. I decided not to. But yes, I love this.
You totally could. So pretend your whole portfolio was at like 50% LVR. you could actually refinance the whole thing to 80% LVR and bring out more cash. Now, we're getting more advanced here, but do you know what? I want to share some of the advanced strategies.
Totally.
If you refinance your whole portfolio, that's not a taxable event because you didn't sell an asset. All you're actually doing is reliquifying the portfolio, right? You're just moving how much is in the actual property asset in the debt versus how much you put into free cash flow in this case here. Now, if you were to refi your whole portfolio like earlier I did in the year, you actually have the ability now through the use of offset accounts to reallocate debt as well.
Yep.
So what if you want to significantly change the amount of debt that's in one of your trusts? Or what if you want to start negative gearing in your personal name because there is a tax advantage to what you do in that way? And that's very individualized. Again, it's like you want to really work in with your team. But it occurred to me that there's a real big superpower of doing a refinance maybe every 5 years and then strategically making sure you place your debt in offset accounts that are appropriate with what you're trying to achieve also. So that's like a bigger idea as well. It's also a really interesting concept that if you're maybe low in liquidity, so maybe you've got a very low cash flow portfolio, but you've had a heap of growth, this is actually a way where you could refinance money out, park it in offset accounts, and you wouldn't have actually any change in like your LVR position, but your liquidity has gone up substantially here as well.
Totally.
So you've allowed yourself to be in a position where you've actually de-risked your portfolio without changing your income, for example, or selling a property.
The interesting thing that I was looking at for potentially in the future, because I got investment property in my own name and then others in trusts, was actually the potential of refinancing, taking the money out and putting all that cash into my personal named property so it spits out more cash flow personally, because there are quite a few banks that don't actually look at what sits in the trust. So then I can actually use my offset of the investment property that's in my personal name to actually minimize or decrease the amount I'm paying for interest so that I look better from a borrowing perspective for a bank. So I got a huge amount of cash.
So you just increased your borrowing power.
Exactly,
Huge.
by utilizing the offset. But then once I get the borrowing, purchase the next property, I can take all that money and go and put it back in the original offsets. It's like a couple of months, I'm like, I could totally move these things around. Just by having an offset account attached to every investment property, I just get to play this game of just like move the money. What is it? Like hide the cheese. Just like hide the cheese. Like where do I want the cheese to sit? Not financial advice, just saying like there are things.
Yeah, definitely not financial advice.
All right, fellow property investor. If you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.